Alright guys, so I just realized this film is one of the first remakes of an original horror film based off a book by Stephen King to come out in the theaters. And the question is, does it succeed? Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another movie review. Guys, in this video I will be reviewing Carrie. Carrie is the 2013 remake of the 1976 classic horror film. This version is directed by Kimberly Peirce. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore. Now, real quick, guys, before I talk any more about the movie, I'm obviously in a new background, and I want to know your guys' opinion. What do you guys think of my horror movie background? And the reason why I'm filming behind these posters instead of my usual ones, which are right over there, is because this is a horror film, it's October, and that's the reason why I'm doing this. So yeah, these are some of my favorite horror movies of all time. Some of them, I have a lot more, but yeah, that's why I'm talking in front of these posters, because I'm talking about a horror film, a remake of a horror film. Now, I did see the original Carrie, guys, the 1976 version. I did not see the 2002 version for whatever reason. But this is a classic horror film. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but it was a really good movie. It was well directed. The two lead performances, which were both Oscar nominated, by the way, were excellent. I just loved the story behind Carrie. It was so creative. It was an original film. It came out in 1976. Classic scene at the prom. And I love this movie. Stephen King is a genius. I'm a big fan of the Stephen King books that were turned into movies. I haven't read any of his books. I haven't even read Carrie. And so part of me was kind of hesitant to looking forward to seeing Carrie because it's a remake. The movie was supposed to come out in March. It was pushed back to October, which is never a good sign. But I think one of the reasons why they pushed it back to October because it's a horror movie. But anyway, so part of me was like, oh, I don't know about this movie. And a lot of the remakes that come out nowadays of classic horror films, they kind of suck. So I was, kind of skeptical to how good Carrie would be. I wasn't sure. And in the end, guys, how is Carrie? It had a really strong looking cast from the trailer. And so in the end, what did I think of Carrie? Well, it is a remake. Yes, it is. Was it a good remake? Yeah, it was decent. Was it better than the original? No. And I think we all knew the answer to that. If we've all seen the original, I think we all knew that the original, there was no way this movie was going to be better than the original. And it's really not. It's just, in the end, it's just a fun time at the theaters. I think it'll most likely appeal to the teenage audiences as opposed to the fans of the other movie. If you've never seen the original Carrie, I think you'll like this one, probably. But other than that, guys, I do have a lot of other feelings towards this movie that I will express later on in the review. But right now, what I want to do is sum up the plot behind Carrie. And like I said, if you've seen the original, you basically know what's going to happen in this movie. But I won't spoil anything major for any of you who have never seen Carrie before. If you've never read the book, if you've never seen the original, if you've never seen this, if you're a Carrie virgin, don't worry, I won't spoil anything for you. But if you've seen the original, you basically know what's going to happen in this movie because you've seen it already. So guys, with this Carrie, our main female lead is Carrie White. She's basically a lonely social outcast. Yeah, she's a senior in high school. In this movie, she's portrayed by Chloe Grace Moretz. And in the very first opening scene in this movie, she has her period in the locker room after gym class. And this is the first time she gets her period. She freaks out completely. Her whole gym class bullies her and makes fun of her. They make fun of her, and they just act completely terrible to her. And she's definitely, you could tell she's an outcast just on the opening shot. On one of the opening shots alone, you could tell this girl's completely lonely, and she has really no friends at all. The only person she really has in her life is her mother. Her mother is this completely over-religious nut, and her mother is Margaret White. In this movie, she's portrayed by Julianne Moore, and whenever, Carrie comes home from school, she'll want Carrie to go into the prayer room and start praying to God, and she's a complete religious nut. You know what, I'm Catholic and that's all cool, but this lady just takes things way too far. She did it in the original and in this one. And at some point in the movie, Carrie begins to discover that she has telekinetic powers. She can move things with her mind. And also, at the same time, she gets asked to go to her senior prom by this really attractive senior guy. And that's basically the whole premise behind Carrie. Now, if you've seen the original, I'm not going to say anything about the famous scene at the prom. I don't want to spoil it for any of you people who have never seen or heard of Carrie before. But if you have, you know what's going to happen at that prom. Something very, very big is going to happen at that prom. And that's all I'm going to say in regards to Carrie, guys. Now, I was always a big fan of the plot behind Carrie. I always liked how it was this lonely, outcast teenage girl who discovers she has telekinetic power. She goes to her senior prom, and a whole big situation happens at the prom. And while I knew that this movie couldn't be the same exact thing as the original, I knew they were going to have changes made in this movie. That's probably one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of this movie, of this Carrie, or of any other remake, because the remakes are just so much different from the original film, and that's why we end up not liking them that much, because they kind of ruin it. But then again, in a way, you can't have this same exact movie back up on the big screen. You can't do the same exact thing, or else you're stealing the original movie's ideas. You can't do that, so you got to change up a few things. So that's why, in a way, we don't like a lot of remakes that come out nowadays. But this version of Carrie, it wasn't terrible. It was decent. I've seen worse remakes. Trust me, I have. This one was decent. So the screenplay, I had a few problems with it. It was overall, the movie was well directed by Kimberly Peirce. She did a good job, except for about one or two things. Overall, she did good. Not as good, probably not as good as Brian De Palma, but she did pretty good. Now, guys, the next thing I must talk about, this is honestly, these two things I'm about to talk about are honestly my two favorite parts of this movie, and that is the two leading performances. And that kind of reminds me of the original Carrie. My favorite part of this movie were the two lead performances. Same thing with this Carrie. Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore. First off, before I talk about how good their acting was in this movie, I loved how they were cast as Carrie and Margaret in this movie. Like, when you think about it, if you could look at any actress that is in Hollywood now, can you honestly pick anyone other than Chloe Grace Moretz or Julianne Moore to play Carrie and Margaret? No. When you think about it, that was two perfect casting choices, especially based on looks, because Chloe Grace Moretz, when you look at her, she looks the most like Sissy Spacek out of anyone nowadays in Hollywood, really, when you think about it. Same thing goes for Julianne Moore. She really does remind you of Piper Laurie from the original. So, with this Carrie, both actresses gave fantastic performances. They definitely carry the movie. Chloe Grace Moretz, she is really doing a good job in Hollywood now. She's on fire. Her role in the Kick-Ass movies and now in this, I mean, and I loved seeing her play Carrie. I mean, two different characters she's played. She's Hit Girl in the Kick-Ass movies, and that character is so much more different from this character in Carrie when you think about it. Chloe Grace Moretz is brilliant. She's very attractive, and I could say that because I'm around her age, so it's cool. She did a really good job in this movie. I was really impressed with her. I loved seeing her play this character, this girl with telekinetic powers, and I thought she did a really good job. Julianne Moore in this movie playing Margaret White, as soon as I saw the trailer, I knew that she was going to kill it as Margaret White, and she did. She did a really good job, actually. There was about one or two scenes in this movie I was like, wow, she's really, really good. Now, I don't know if she's as good as Piper Laurie was, or if Chloe Grace Moretz is as good as Sissy Spacek was, but they both gave really strong performances, and I was really impressed with them. Those are the only two actresses I'm going to mention in this movie. Now, are they Oscar-worthy performances? Because the other two, Piper Laurie and Sissy Spacek, were both nominated for Oscars. I don't think they're going to get nominated for Oscars because it's a very crowded year this year, but they were good. They were really good. And I was very impressed with them, and they honestly were the best parts of the movie when you think about it. Now, moving on, guys, Carrie is rated R. When I heard it was rated R, I was pleased because the original was rated R, and they went pretty far in this movie. Now, after watching this movie, you understand why it's rated R, but when you think about it, it could have been rated PG-13. It really could have. The only thing that separates this movie from the original Carrie is that it had a lot more gore, in my opinion. Other than that, I mean, there's no nudity in this movie. There's not a strong amount of language in this movie. I mean, except for the gore, it could have been rated PG-13. And I think another reason why they gave this movie an R rating, probably because they said it was scary. It's not scary, okay? This is rated R too. That doesn't say why, but if one of the main reasons because this movie was scary, no, it wasn't scary. The original didn't even scare me. So that's another thing I have to mention. But overall, yeah, I guess it suits its R rating. There are a few things that happen in this movie. You're like, wow, they went pretty far with the gore and the kills in this movie. But anyway, moving on, guys. The final thing I'm going to get into is my rating of the film. I'm going to talk about a few other things I liked about the movie and a few things I did not like about the movie, because I do have a lot of things I didn't like about the movie. Like I said, it was good, but it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't groundbreaking by any means. So guys, in the end, I'm going to give the remake of Carrie a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty decent rating for a remake. I mean, trust me, we have had worse. We have had a lot worse. But this is a decent attempt at a remake for Carrie. Now, one reason why I'm going to recommend this to teenagers is because if they've never seen the original, I think they're going to like this. And I think that's what this movie is for a lot of young teenagers who haven't seen the original, who haven't been exposed to Carrie, to the world of Carrie. I think they'll like this one. But if they watch the original first, then they watch this, I think they're going to want to go with this. But anyway, guys, a few other things I liked about the movie. Kimberly Peirce did a really good job directing. I was pleased with her, except for one thing with Chloe Grace Moretz's character. Like, in one scene, literally, Chloe Grace Moretz is like this. Like, in, like, the whole beginning of the movie, that's all she's doing. She's like this. And I think they made her overdo it a little bit with the fact that she was an outcast. I think, like, I don't know, she was, like, if anyone brushed up against her in this movie, she'd go like this. She's like, I mean, I don't know, it was just, that was a little weird. Other than that, Kimberly Peirce did a really good job directing. I was pleased with her. Now, Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore both gave really, really strong performances. They definitely carried the movie, and they impressed me. Now, I don't think they were, as memorable as Sissy Spacek or Piper Laurie, but they definitely did a good job in this movie, and I was really impressed with them. They were honestly the two best parts of the movie. I do love how they increased the amount of gore in this movie. I was really a big fan of that. They got a little crazy with a few of the death scenes in this movie, and I liked that. Other than that, there are a few script changes compared to the original. One of them I saw coming a mile away, so that was a little bit of a problem I had. It was a little predictable. But other than that, I liked seeing the story of Carrie back up on the big screen. I liked that. So that's one reason why I enjoyed the movie. And in the end, Carrie is just a fun time at the movies. And that's really it. And I do also like the themes that have been portrayed in this movie and in the original. The lonely high school girl, she's an outcast, bullying. I mean, we've seen it in the original, we're seeing it again in this, and I like that. So that's really all I have all the good things I have to say about this movie. As for a few problems I have a couple. The supporting acting from many of the minor characters is not good. It's probably average at best. A few are average, some are just bad. Especially in the beginning, a lot of the high school scenes just didn't really faze me. They just didn't impress me at all. There was much better acting in the minor characters in the original than there was in this movie. That was another thing. The script, honestly, definitely needed work, especially in the high school scenes. The script was really, really good. The dialogue between Carrie and her mother. Other than that, the scenes at the high school were just not that great in terms of the script. In the end, this movie did not creep me out. It's a horror movie. That's another failure. But the original did. But this is classic, so that's why I love this one. And the scene at the prom, they changed a few things. I wanted almost the same exact scene at the prom. It's not as good as the original scene at the prom in the end. And that's overall, that's another thing. This movie is not as good as the original Carrie, and that's why I'm not going that high with my score. That's why I'm saying it's not that memorable. It might be more memorable to younger viewers and teenagers who've never seen the original, but to me it's not that memorable, and it's nowhere near as memorable as the original Carrie from Brian De Palma. But other than that, guys, Carrie, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10, as I said. I really wouldn't recommend it. It's really good as a rental over seeing it in the theaters and paying full price for it. If you've never seen Carrie before, though, you might like it, so maybe pay full price. But if you have seen Carrie already and you know what's going to happen, you're getting the same thing, and it's just not as good as the original. So that's why I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I would say it's better as a rental than to see it in the theaters. But if you want to go see a decent horror film that came out before right around Halloween time, then I would say probably go see it, but on a cheap night. So anyway, guys, that's it for my thoughts of the remake of Carrie. Good performances and really well-directed movie, but other than that, not as good as the original. So thank you guys so much for watching. What did you think of the remake? Did you like it better than the original? If you did, I don't know why, but let me know down below. And what is your favorite work from Stephen King? Let me know the answer to that down below as well, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed my review. Bye, guys.